Well, hey there, my name is Dan. I am a music teacher about to listen to the World of Goo original soundtrack for the very first time. To be clear, I've never heard this music before in my life. Together, we're going to listen through the entire OST. I'm going to break things down for you, maybe discover some hidden connections, and we're going to have some fun and learn about music along the way. Type a 2 if you're ready to get started, and we are going to kick this off with World of Goo Beginning. Let's do this thing. Well, that sounded like some mischievous hijinks, if ever I heard them. Let's go back and actually break down what's going on here. Oof. It's been a while since I had to figure out a soundtrack by ear. I'm running a little slow today. Apologies. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to break down these here chords. Oh, and then we had 2, 6, 2, flat 6, 6, and then we also had, what do we even call that in relationship to an F sharp? I'll just call it 6. How about? Minor 6. Okay, so we have some chords here that are, well, a little bit more, how to say, orchestral, more like film music. It's been a while since we've had a score like this where we actually are contending with something going on that's not Binding of Isaac or Off or Lisa the Painful. right. Hey, hang on. There we go. Lord have mercy. Sorry. 2. And 4, 5. Jeez Louise. Normally it's not this slow. I'm just moving a little slow today. Okay. So we have a 1, 2, 4 with a minor to a 5. And then in the next section we had a 1 to a flat 6 to a 1 to a 6. Yeah. So, all right. So already right here. That's a really interesting chord progression that we don't hear all the time. Now you might be saying, well, Dan, what on earth do you mean by 1, 2, 4 minor and 5? Well, I'll tell you. So the way music works is we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are going to be the numbers that we use. Now, within this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we can assign letters that coincide with these numbers, but the letters can change as the numbers. So check this out. In music, we have what's called the basic musical alphabet, where we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But after G, we don't go to H. We go straight back to A. So we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, round and round and round we go. And I'll play this for you and sing it for you. We go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. That A is higher than the A that we started. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So every time I say A, it's getting higher than the A that came before. Likewise with G, likewise with everything. But again, we don't have H. No H's. Now, here's the thing. What we do is to keep track of the notes and the numbers is we assign a number to the letter. So, excuse me, the letters and the numbers is we assign a letter to the number. So let's say if A is 1, then B is 2, then C is 3, D is 4, E is 5, F is 6, G is 7. Likewise, if D is 1, then E is 2, F is 3, G is 4, A is 5, B is 6, C is 7. Because remember, there's no H, and we go round and round and round. So wherever we start on the 1, we just count up with numbers from there. So if F is 1, then G is 2, then A is 3, B is 4, C is 5, D is 6, and E is 7. So here we can see that we have a 1, 2. So we start on an F, then we go to a type of a G. In this case, it's a G sharp. Then we go to 4, which is a B, and then we go to 5, which is a C. And it's a C sharp, but it's a kind of a C. And then we go from 1 to 6. So if F is 1, count with me, F, G, A, B, C, D is 6. So in this case, D natural. And in the next case, a D sharp. The flat 6 versus the 6. And we'll talk about flats and sharps in a minute. But there you go. That's the basics of how music works, is we think about going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we just use letters. That's about it. That's how you can make sense of, well, most music here, as we did just here. Okay, here we go. And very funnily enough, Delay here on YouTube says, hey, Dan, I have some really poor hearing transcription skills. I can listen to melodies somewhat fine, but chords are really difficult. Any advice? Well, considering you just watched me sit there and sweat bullets while I was getting chords, and you've also seen me pick up chords on first pass through, I have a little bit of expertise. As you can see, I've been on both sides and continue to sometimes be on both sides of that coin. You got to practice your ear training. That's it. It's that simple. It's a perishable skill, unfortunately, and I haven't practiced it for a little while, which is why that took me so long to get. But as we get back into it, my motor oil will kick in and we'll start grooving. We'll go a little bit faster. So my advice is to use a program like Earmaster and practice your ear training for 5 to 30 minutes every day. I should be taking my own advice. Let's keep this going with the Goo Filled Hills. The hills are alive with the goos of Goozik. Okay. Okay. I've got to turn my headphones down a scotch so I can hear my guitar and the music at the same time. Okay, so what we have here is we are in the key of G now. So G is 1, A is 2, B is 3, C is 4, D is 5, E is 6, and F is 7. So in this case, we start off with so what we have here is 1, sorry, it's a little messy, 1, 2, and we're going to call it 5, going to the dominant area, 2, flat 6, then back to 5. Now you might be saying, well, Dan, why are you using Roman numerals? Well, I'll tell you. I'm using Roman numerals because what we're hearing here and what I'm breaking down for you is the harmony or the chords that are present. Now you might be saying, well, Dan, what on earth is harmony? Well, I'll show you. This is a note. 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 This is also a note. Now, what happens when we take 2 or more notes, we put them together, and we play them at the same time or generate them at the same time. You don't have to play them. You could be on a keyboard or programming it into a digital audio workstation like Fruity Loops or Logic Pro, anything. When there's more than one note happening at the same time, this is called harmony. And in music, we represent harmony with Roman numerals. So whenever you see Roman numerals, it means we're talking specifically about chords or harmony that's happening, as opposed to when you see me actually use numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I'm going to be talking about notes. So you can see here so far, what I've been breaking down for you has been the harmony or the pattern of the chords that have been used in this original soundtrack. And we see, sure enough, Hills here was 1, 5, flat 6, 5. Type a 3 in the chat if just playing those chords that you just heard. Type a 3 in the chat if the chords you just heard me play sound to you a bit like the Goo Filled Hills. If so, it's because you're recognizing the pattern, and it doesn't matter how I play this pattern, you hear this pattern and you're going to know it. And that is one of the cool things about music, is once you know the pattern, everything unlocks. Okay. Great. You sent me the Fork says 3, Sir Galahad says 3, a Switch Dog says 3, the guy with no ideas says 3. Right. So you guys are hearing the musical pattern, and I can play what you heard, the pattern you heard in the music on the guitar, and you recognize it's the same, because that is the magic of something called music theory. Music theory is what we're doing here, is we're breaking down the music and understanding the patterns behind the music. It's like being Neo in the Matrix and being able to see all the ones and zeros. That is music theory. Okay, let's keep this going with Brave Adventures. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why this Brave Adventures sounds so radically different from the beginnings and also Hills that we heard previously is because this is the first piece of music we've heard that's in a major key. And if you're saying, well, what on earth do you mean a major key, Dan? Well, I'll tell you. So just like we talked about how these chords are organized with these Roman numerals, you might notice I've been writing letters down at the beginning to actually tell us which is the 1. So if I write an F first, that means F is 1. If I write a G first, it means G is 1. If I write a D first, it means D is 1. Now, this D, this G, and this F, these all represent something called the key. And the key is like the basket that holds all the music that you hear in the piece. So if we were to take all the pieces of the music, instead of it happening from start to finish like this, we wrapped it all up and we put it together in like a ball. All that music would be in a key. And the key that we can hear for Brave, well, it starts off in a major key. And the difference between a major key and a minor key is when the 1, and then this is broad strokes. Keep in mind, this is broad strokes, but this does work. This definition gets us there. Is that if the first chord we have, if the 1, if our Roman numeral 1 is a major chord, then generally the key is major. And if our 1 chord is minor, then generally the key is minor. And you might be saying, well, Dan, find me an example of a time when the 1 chord is major and a key is minor. Well, you know. Not off the top of my head, I can't. So, here we go. Let me explain the difference between major and minor. So, at a fundamental level, again, this is a very basic way of thinking about it. Major is happy or hopeful. This is major. This is minor. Oh, okay, here's major. Here's minor. And so minor has this sad, sort of pensive feeling to it. And so what happens is because we're taking all the music and we're kind of wrapping up in a ball to summarize it, that 1 chord holds a lot of weight in determining the overall emotion and feeling of the music. And so when the 1 chord is minor, when the 1 chord has that pensive, sad feeling, it makes the overall feeling of all the music a little bit more toward the tendency of this sort of sad, pensive, or, you know, yeah, we'll leave it there. Again, I'm painting with broad strokes here, but sad, pensive feeling. Whereas when the 1 is a major chord, it actually makes all the music sound a little bit more happy and hopeful. So Brave Adventure actually is in a major key. So the music sounds a little bit more happy and hopeful. Furthermore, it only uses major chords. So there actually is no sad, pensive minor chords anywhere to be found in Brave. All happy chords starting on a happy chord, which makes the overall feeling and the emotion of the sound, well, a bit more happy. Interestingly enough, Brave also changes keys in the middle of the piece, which is called a modulation. A modulation. So it starts off with D being the 1, but by the time we get to, let's see, I'll give you the actual timestamp here. Right there. At the 32 or 33 second mark, the 1 is now an F. The 5 is now a C. Excuse me. Yeah, and the 4 is now a B. It's a B flat, but we're going to think of it as a B. So that's what's going on in Brave. It's a major key. They're only using major chords. By the way, you can use minor chords in a major key. It's kind of like the spice of life, or part of the spice of life. But here, it's just major on so many levels. It's major at the key level. It's major at the chord level. And there you go. That's part of what makes it sound so brave and adventure-y, and also, well, a little sort of like meme-y of someone being brave, right? If you were to make a musical meme of someone being brave, this would be a pretty good way of doing it. Okay, let's keep this going with another mysterious pipe appeared. What a lovely title for a tune. Now, another mysterious pipe appeared, starts using only minor chords, which is part of what gives it the sort of demonic circus type of a vibe. Now, to start this off, quite a bit happens in here, so we're actually going to go through it again to break it down. So this is also modulating, or at least at a very minimum, tonicizing other keys. Tonicizing other keys is a fancy way of saying a very short modulation that doesn't last very long. So we could just have said that the first time, couldn't we? We have some short modulations that don't last very long. Okay, so mysterious pipe. Yeah, I'm gonna start off by saying we're in E, but kinda. As good enough as any a place, but then we're actually going to end up in A minor. So we start in E minor, the key of E minor, then we end up in A minor. And it starts off A minor, down a half step. We're going to, okay, so if E is 1, A is 4, 4 minor to then maybe flat 4 minor. So flats in music mean we go down a bit. Sharps mean we go up a bit. You may be saying, well, surely there's a more technical and precise explanation for that, Dan. There sure is, and for the purposes of the entertaining yet informative stream we're going to have today, we're not going to get into every single possible thing I could teach about music theory, because then we'd have a more of an informative and possibly less entertaining stream. And we also would not get through the entire soundtrack, because we'd be sitting here breaking down every single thing for hours. So, right. So we go 4, flat 4, and then 1 to 5. 1 to 5. Then, yeah, back and forth. And then we go to A minor. Okay, so then we have a 1 minor to a flat 6 over 1. Yeah, could we call that an augmented 1? Yeah, maybe we should. We should call that a 1. You know what? We're going to call that a 1 sharp 5. 1 sharp 5. And the reason why we're doing that is there's many different ways to, there's many different ways to slice the musical pizza in terms of what you call something and what you label something. So the conundrum I was having there was picking which way to label the thing. And I just picked a way of labeling it. Let's keep it going. Was there a G in there? No, a C. No? Yeah, no. Okay. To 5. Going to, what now might indeed be D minor, but we might have another key change here to D, and D being the 1, but we're going to just treat D as the 4 of A. Say the 4 minor to 4. Yeah. 4 minor sharp 5, maybe? Kind of a James Bondy type chord. Going back to A. Then to A, and then to G, which is flat 7. Help. To a D minor. Back to 4. To oh well, now we are in the key of D. Yeah, so that's not 4. That 4 is actually a 1 in the key of D minor now. I'm going to say 1 to then flat 6. Going then to G flat minor. Yeah, to many more places before we come back home. Sometimes when we have so many things, I may not write them all down. I may just call them out to you. But look, let's take a moment and zoom out and see if we can spot some interesting patterns so far. 3 minors, 1 major, all different keys. Sometimes in OSTs you'll see similar keys being used, especially at the beginning, because the keys themselves act kind of as as motifs in a way to represent places, biomes, situations, personal places, and things. The keys can sort of act a little bit like a motif. Not always, but we have seen that in some OSTs. Oh, let's see. Interesting use here of, something we've seen is key changes. Lots of key changes. Well, you might say, well, damn, that's not a lot. What does a lot even mean? Well, a lot at this point is 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 3 key changes. And, well, 4 because they didn't even get to. If you want to call those key changes. We're calling them key changes. Look. Okay, if I was in college, I would say we were tonicizing another key. All right, if I was in music school, I'd say we're tonicizing another key. Why would I say we're tonicizing another key? It's because we don't stay there for that long. Okay, but what we're going to say is that we're changing keys, because effectively that is what we're doing when we tonicize another key. It's just we don't stay there for that long. Enough of my argument. So, more key changes than we typically see in an OST for the first, 4 pieces. So that's pretty exciting. I assume we're going to have more of that to come. And it's been a moment since I checked the chat of this here live stream, so let's go see what everyone's talking about. So a 1 chord with an augmented 5th delay, a minor chord, right? So if we think about like the James Bond theme, it's, let's see. And so what that is, effectively, is a minor chord, then a minor chord with a sharp 5, or an augmented 5th, to then a minor chord with a 6, then back to a sharp 5. That's why I said it's a very good James Bondy type chord, because indeed in the James Bond theme, we hear a 1 minor with what is effectively an augmented 5th. Cool. Let's keep this going with World of Goo Corporation. Now, this is one of the beautiful things about music theory is now we can start to see some interesting things come back around. So What we hear in corporation is actually something from the beginning showing up again, and I will show you why. So in corporation, our 1 is going to be A, and we're actually in a minor key, so it's A minor. So we had 4 before. Flat 5 maybe? Yeah, okay. Then we have a 2 with a diminished 5th. Exciting. Or flat 5. And then 5. Okay. So, in the beginning, we had the 1 was F sharp, but this is where music theory really comes in handy, is that we could see 1, 2, 4, 5. Or specifically 1 minor. When I put a minus sign next to it, it means the chord's minor, that sad or pensive sound. So I have 1 minus, 1 minor, 2, something else, 5. So 3 out of 4 chords here match. And indeed, if you go back and listen to the beginning, listen to corporation, it's going to sound similar. The one thing that's different here is instead of having the 4 minor here, we actually have the 2 with a flat 5, which actually is a substitution for the 4 minor because we actually have the flat 5 is the same note as one of the notes in what would be the 4 chord. It would be the flat 3. So this 2 with a flat 5, that flat 5, or you could also think of it as being a sharp 4, either way, is actually, like I said, there's many different names you can give things, is actually a substitution for this minor 4 chord here, because 1, this minor 4 chord here has 3 notes in it. The 3 notes are D, F, and A, if we're in the key of A minor. So D, F, and A. This chord here has B, D, and F. Oh, excuse me. It's B, D sharp, and F. So both chords have an F note, but 2 other notes that are different. And so even when you have 1 note, only 33%, 33 and a third percent recurring. Yes, I'll get it right. 33 and a third percent of the notes match up. That still works as a substitution. Now it's holding the place of it partially. It's like if someone took a mask of my face and came on the stream. It was like, well, it looks like Dan. Doesn't sound like Dan. Doesn't act like Dan. But it looks like Dan. That's how the substitution works. Cool. Let's keep this going with pumping, regurgitation pumping station. Called the lot. Okay, part of what makes this piece absolutely magical is, well, number one, it's groovy. It's the groovy baby. Now, something we're going to talk about here is a different type of modulation. Actually, two different types of modulation. The first is a metric modulation, and the second is a tempo modulation. Tempo modulation refers specifically to speed. So if the music changes speed, it goes through a tempo modulation. And indeed, we heard many tempo modulations here in this piece of music. Now, the second modulation we're going to talk about, which personally I love, is called a metric modulation. Now, metric modulation is when the actual meter of the music changes. And we could hear that this music went back and forth between, for example, straight and swung. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let me explain. In music, there are things called beats. If you ever have bopped your head to music or tapped your foot to music or clapped along with music, you've been clapping on a beat. You might not have been clapping or tapping or nodding your head to all the beats, but you were likely clapping, nodding, or tapping to a beat. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. Now, each beat can be divided into time. So every time you bob your head, we could divide that time you bob your head into two. So you're dividing it evenly into two. Now, that's called, most of the time, that's called an eighth note, the way we're going to think about it today. Again, if you're a music teacher, you're like, well, not our, I get it. I'm trying to keep this fun and also educational. So, right, because we can't possibly cover all edge cases because then we'd just be doing a music theory class. So, check this out. We have eighth notes. Eighth notes look like this. And each one of these things, you know, that's number one, number two. Because remember, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, what happens is in swing, the second eighth note gets pushed back. So there's actually a longer time here than there is before it comes back to the next eighth note. So we have, so again, I'm nodding my head. Here's straight. Here's swung. Straight. Swung. The swung feels a little herky-jerky. It feels a little roly-poly. And you're like, well, the way you swing feels roly-poly, Dan. Yeah, okay. So, what we could hear is in this music, it changed from straight to swing and back. So right here, you hear the sound, it sort of sounds like Pink Panther. Do-doom, do-doom. Do-doom, 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 be-dow, ba-do-no. That, well, da-da, 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 yeah. That's, we're going to call that swing. Whereas here, it's even. It's like a machine gun. Or like a candy machine. It's like a candy machine. Whereas a swing, and so we could hear the music actually change back and forth between swing and straight. So not only do we have a modulation of tempo, which is the speed, but also a metric modulation, a change in the meter, the actual, whether it's straight or whether it's swung. Now, you might be saying, well, hang on a second, Dan. Couldn't you call that a feeling modulation? It's like, well, yes, actually it would be correct because look, both swung and straight music can be written in the time signature of 4/4. Excuse me, this would be a little advanced. So look, straight and swung can both be written in the time signature of 4/4. And indeed, both of them are written in the time signature 4/4. Swing could also be in 3/4. Straight could also be, yeah, you could also swing in 2/4. It's like you could put swing in any common meter. Common as in 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, you know, to be the, excuse me, not common, simple meter. But in any simple meter, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Now, fundamentally, that's not a metrical change because the meter still remains 4/4. However, the feel within that meter changed from straight to swung, right? So you can say, okay, it's a feel modulation, but really, normally, most of the time, we even call this a metric modulation. Even though the time signature could stay 4/4, because we're changing from straight to swung, we'd still call it a metric modulation, even though it is a modulation in the feel of the music, not technically the meter. Whereas if we went from 4/4 to 6/8, that's changing from simple quadruple meter to compound duple meter. You dig? Again, a little bit of an advanced lesson there, which you throw in every once in a while for those of you who already understand music theory basics. And if that went right over your head, don't worry, because we're going to be right back with some more basics starting now. Okay. Let's go to the next one, which is called Threadcutter. Okay, well, this is such a harmonically delicious track. We're going to unpack it as we go. So this is Threadcutter. Okay, the key is going to be A. A major, actually, is how we're going to start this off. All right, here we go. Ah. Sorry, it's actually E. Not A. That's okay. Okay. 1. 2, 3 to 4. Now feels like we're in A. So now 4 becomes 1. Move from E, A. Actually, here, let's actually do it like we do in classical analysis. Do A here, so A is actually 1. Okay, and then we're going to pick up here. And so look, A is 4 to E as A is 1 to A, right? So if we go E, F, G, A is a 4 of E, but if we say A is 1, then A is the 1 of A. Type of 3, if that made sense. Okay. So we now have A is 1, and then it goes to 4 minor. Back to 1. That's 6, 4. Excuse me, 6 to 5. then to the parallel minor. Okay, so this is really interesting. So here we can see that in thread starts off in the key of E major. Then it goes to the key of A major. And in the key of A major goes 1, 4 minor, which is interesting because typically when we think of the key of A major, 4 is actually a major chord, but here in the case, it's actually a minor chord. 1, 4 minor, 1, 6 minor, that's typical, 5 major, that's typical. Here's where it gets untypical again, is using 1, but this time instead of going back to 1 being major, 1 is now minor. This is something called the parallel minor, and we've seen the parallel minor demonstrate hidden things in different OSTs. We've heard it represent lies. We've heard it represent duplicity, which kind of is lies, but really being two-faced, like having two sides of yourself or hiding something. We've seen it be with bad guys who pretend to be good and then turn out to be bad. We've seen it in and echo for mystery and suspense, and again, that hidden thing. So this is where we take an A major. It starts, the piece starts with A major, or this section of the piece starts with A major, but then it ends with an A, again an A chord, but this time it's minor. So it's changing from this happy sound to, at the end, this more sort of pensive sound. So chat, I'd love to know what happens in Threadcutter that sets us up with some type of maybe duplicity or bad guy or something being revealed, or maybe a, I'm not sure. Something, yeah. Let me know. What duplicity or hidden thing or threat is on the way? Let me know in the chat. Let's keep this going and put it in the comments if you're watching this on demand. Let's check out Rain, Rain, Windy, Windy. Well, this is actually very exciting because this is the first piece of music that we've had that I believe in this entire OST so far, and we're 8 pieces deep, where we actually have a motif. Dee doo dee be dookie da. Like that. Now, we also heard some variations on that motif. On a fundamental level, that's a very simple version of it. Would be another way of thinking of it too. So we're going to write out the more fancy version here. And you notice now I'm actually going to use numbers. We have 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. We also go. No, I think we just heard it minor. Let's go back and listen to this just a little bit. Ah. 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 I'm going to take it here, B. Oh, it's even here. Well, that's another way of doing it here. Okay. So the first time we hear the motif, it's actually 6, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. What did I have before it? Oh, okay, yeah. Which I think we hear as well. So 6, that's flat 6 specifically. So we're going to call that motif 1 here. Motif 1. Flat 3, we should say. Deep, all the fleas. All the fleas are flat. All the 3s are flat. Cool stuff. Okay. Cool. So, boom, ba, binky dookie da. That's going to be our motif number 1. And you could say, well, that's a little long for motif, and I'd agree with you because the doo da, that's more of a motif. Because we could actually break this up. The definition of a motif, by the way, is the smallest recognizable musical idea. So, if we could say, boo da dee dee, boo da dee, Like, is that a musical idea? Is it recognizable? Yeah, it is. So this is actually a little long for motif. We could actually, yeah, we're gonna call this a motif because I can't think of a better word. Subphrase, maybe. Yeah, we'll call it a subphrase. So here's a subphrase, and within the subphrase, we have multiple motifs. And a lot of people use the word motif technically incorrectly because they use motif to describe the whole thing, right? So look, if we think about it, there's a hierarchy to this thing. Okay, so the theme, which because this is the only piece of, because this is the only idea really that is presented, we could, I guess, call this the theme. But the hierarchy of things, we had the theme, right? And then we'd have phrases within the theme, or yeah, sections within the theme, then phrases within the sections, and then subphrases within the phrases. But not all phrases have subphrases. Confused yet? Yeah, me too. Then motifs inside of these subphrases. With how we would think about the structural hierarchy of music. And the problem is, like, some phrases have subphrases and some phrases don't have subphrases. So it's not a perfect hierarchy. It's very messy. It's very, very messy. All right, let's check out Jelly. Well, what's really interesting here about Jelly is that it's actually almost the antithesis of Brave. So Brave started out on a D, in this case a D flat, with all major chords, and it sounded very happy. So here's Brave. Now, Jelly starts off on a D flat as well, but this time it's minor. So I'd be very curious to know, chat, is there some connection between Brave and Jelly? And musically speaking, is Jelly, because of the key connection here, because they both start with D flat as the one, is there some type of story connection that can be drawn between Brave and Jelly, in the sense that Brave might be the hero and Jelly might be the enemy. I'd love to know, perhaps Jelly is a low point and Brave was a high point. Please let me know in the chat. I'd love to know if you're watching on demand. Let me know. Let's keep this rocking and rolling. Not really, says Engraves. Well, guess what? It was a fun theory, and you saw how I could make that leap by looking musically at those two keys and maybe thinking the composer was trying to tell us a story, because oftentimes composers do try and tell us stories with connections such as those. If you look at Chris Christodoulou, he's like a Russian nesting doll of mysterious, cryptic ideas. And right, so I'm always anticipating Chris Christodoulou levels of Russian nesting doll cryptic, enciphered messages that must somehow be understood and broken down. And sometimes I bring a little too much firepower to the party, as I did just there. But hey, that's okay, because the next time we get a Chris Christodoulou soundtrack on here, nothing will get past me. I say that now, and then I talk to him and be like, hey, man, I think I figured this out. And he'll likely be like, oh, yeah, but you didn't see how, like, in the first movement and then in the last thing, there was this one rhythm that I flipped around backwards and then it did this thing. And then it was like, yeah, well, okay. You're smarter than me. Okay. Okay. Let's check out this next one called Tumbler. Okay, in Tumbler we have, I mean, we're going to call it a motif. Also, to start off Tumbler, we have the 1, 2 to minor 4, the 1, 2, minor 4 that we heard all the way in the beginning. So Tumbler, the chords in Tumbler are actually taking 1, 2, 3, the first 3 chords in the beginning, but this time instead of starting on F sharp, they start on an A, kind of like we heard in Corporation with the 1. We have the 1 minor to the 2, but then Corporation, they borrowed, they did a borrowing thing here, well, or a replacement thing, however you want to think about it. I call it a borrowed chord, so, well, is it a borrowed chord? Substitution. We have a flat 5 for the 2, which basically replaces the minor 4 here. So that's cool. So Tumbler taking notes from in the beginning. And I think it's about it. Someone name that classical piece, because I can't think of the name, because classical music is not my specialty. Okay. So we have 5, 3, 2, 1. In this case, flat 3. Anyone got the name of that off the top of their head? Yum bum 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 shim. Yum bum 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 shim. No? Okay, let's keep this going with Screamer. Now, Screamer is actually detuned a little bit. It's also in the key of D flat minor. So D flat minor was both Jelly and Screamer. And Screamer, anytime I put this little red thing here, it's the composers actually purposefully brought the music away from a 440, which I'm not going to explain here because I've explained it the last 3 streams. You can check out, I explained it in Lisa the Painful stream. I explained it also in, I believe, the last stream we did, which was Off. I also explained it in Off. So you can go check out the streams for Off and Lisa the Painful to understand what I mean by this red asterisk thing here. Asterix et Obelix here, and we'll keep it going with Burning Man. This one also. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Little out of tune. Okay. Cool stuff. Burning Man sounded lovely, a little distant. We're starting to see, sure enough, a progression happening in the OST where we're getting a little bit more dissonant here now, and I wonder if it's going to keep on getting a little bit heavier, a little bit more dissonant as we go. We're about halfway through, a little less than halfway through. These next two will bring us to halfway through point, and we'll start to either see, we've seen in OSTs, some of them get a little bit heavier, a little bit more dissonant, and some of them change pace because we get a second act, and then we go all over again, a little like rise and fall roller coaster ride. Let's keep going with Cog in the Machine. So basically, we had a lot of sort of wailing, uncomfortable guitar happening, doing stuff that was a little bit out of tune from everything else. Here's the thing. What was really interesting, the entire piece was basically over an F sharp low note the entire way through the piece. And then over that happened a flat 6, a flat 7, back 2 1 3 1, flat 6, flat 7. And again, let's see if we can get a, let's see. Not a classical specialist, nor am I a fingerstyle specialist when it comes to guitar. All right, cool. Yep, so that there was COG. Let's check out Happy New Year to You, trademark, brought to you by Product Z. Oh, well, that's so much fun. Okay, so what we had here was a juxtaposition of what is fundamentally major and minor together at the same time to create dissonance. Now, those of you who are a little bit more learned in music theory might say, well, Dan, yes, but technically speaking, what we just heard was a melodic minor scale played against, sure enough, a ostinato. Repeating. Ostinato just means it's something that gets repeated over and over again. Fancy music term. Ostinato means it repeats. So we heard an ostinato, it repeats. Idea, something like that. Something like that. And over it, if I'm not mistaken, uh-oh, I just put my foot in my mouth. No, I had it the other way around. Okay, yeah, so I apologize. I take everything back that I just said. We have a C sharp minor. Figure happening under a B flat minor scale. Well, Dan, those sound like two very different things from what you said before. Yeah, I got it wrong. I'm sorry. It happens. We're doing this live. I've never heard this before. I'm speaking off the top of my head and running a stream and playing a guitar and writing on a board. I may get something wrong, which I did just now. And I will tell you. So, we have D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, happening Huh. At the same time as we have Fs instead of F flats. Yeah, G flats we align, A flats, B flats, Cs, D flats. So what we have here is two different keys coming together. I had the principle right that two different things were coming together. But here we have two different keys coming together that creates this feeling of, oof, I mean, complete unsettledness. So imagine we took, all right, so here's keys. So let's say we take the key of B flat, right? And the B flat has these 7 notes in it, right? So we have B is 1, C is 2, D is 3, E is 4, F is 5, G 6, A is 7. And we wrap all that up, and it's a little ball, and actually imagine it's like a Japanese rice ball, and it's got some fun stuff inside it that tastes super yummy. And we bite into it, and it tastes great. And then we have the D flat minor that all got rolled up into a sushi ball. Got some also delicious stuff inside it, but we bite it and we taste it. But it's a totally different flavor from the B flat minor rice ball that we just had. Again, with stuff inside it. I forget the name of it. I had it when I was I used to go into like 7-Eleven when I was in Japan. Like the food in 7-Eleven in Japan is like actually yummy. And maybe people live in Japan are like, well, you're disgusting. We don't eat that, but I ate it and it was pretty good. I don't know what to tell you. Those little rice things with stuff on the inside, the 7-Elevens in Japan, it was good. I don't know what to tell you. I enjoyed it. So it's like, yeah, it's like you have two of these, but they don't go together at all. Like one's like got red bean and it's sweet, and one is like fish and nori, right? And it's like two very different things, and it doesn't sit quite well together. And that's that tension that you hear, and that you feel, and that you taste. If you again go to 7-Eleven. Okay, let's keep this going. With welcome to the information Superhighway. What a way to end that. Okay, so what we have here is basically a 4-1 chord progression, first in E flat minor, and then modulating to D minor. So starting on the 4, then going to 1. So in E flat minor, it's A flat minor to the E flat minor, A flat minor to the E flat minor, and then we go to D, we go a G minor to a D minor, a G minor to a D minor, a little bit of G minor in my life, a little bit of E on the side, a little bit of, okay, again, should have been major chords, but it doesn't matter. Okay, I did it, and it was like, we'll do it live. Graphic processing unit. Or a GPU. Parallel major. Okay, well, another interesting one. Oh, something I'd love to point out is it starts in B minor. Okay, I want to point one thing out here to you. It starts off B minor, A major, right there. At 29 seconds, a big old B major. Yeah, because why not? And then, as things have been going so far in this world of Goo, things change a little bit from there. But it's interesting that in graphic processing, we have that parallel minor, parallel major, which before we heard as parallel major to parallel minor in Threadcutter. Let's check out years of work. Parallel major. That was so close to being an opera. Oh, both parallel minor and major at the same time there. No, not ABBA. Wham. Who's the guy in Wham? Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year... Oh, I'm losing my feeling here. Oh, sorry, the song's still going. Sorry. George Michael. Thank you, Pikachu. Well, years of work was a little long for me to break the whole thing down for you, but here's something interesting. It starts off in B minor, and then it legitimately changes keys to B major. It doesn't just tonicize, which, as you remember, just means changing a key for a short time. It stays in B major for quite some time before it changes keys again. And by the way, if you're just joining us and you're wondering what our color coding is here, our pink or purple here, our fuchsia is a modulation or a change of keys. Our orange is a rhythmic modulation, or indeed a tempo modulation. And then our red star things here is things that are detuned from A440, or detuned from within the piece itself. Maybe it's not A440, I don't have perfect pitch. And I don't even know if people have perfect pitch can tell if A440 is A440 or not. That sounds more like pitch memorization to me, but I'm not sure. Anyway, those are the color codes we're working with so far here. And let's keep on going with my virtual world of Goo Corporation. Be gone. Oh, is that it? Oops. Sorry. Okay. Instead of breaking down what was happening in the notes or the chords there, I want to tell you something about virtual. The rhythm, which is called a gallop. Gallop. Type a 2 in the chat if that sounds like a horse maybe galloping to you. That is literally called a gallop in music. Cool stuff. All right, now, where was we? Inside the big computer. Here we go. Okay, what I want to point out to you here is what the bass is actually doing, because this is a lot of fun. Again, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit so you can hear me talk and play over it as we go. So, what's happening here is that the bass is going chromatically. Chromatic, like chroma, like color, means all the colors or all the notes. And what's happening is that we get one chord for every two notes as the bass plays every single one of the notes. Now, you might say, well, hang on a second, Dan. You said there were 7 notes. What you just played sounded like there was more than 7. Okay, yeah. Like I said at the beginning, we have sharps and flats. So we actually have 12 notes. Yeah. Because we have some notes that have sharps and flats and some that don't. So for example, we have B flat to A to G to A flat or G sharp to G to G flat or F sharp to F to E flat or D sharp to D flat or C sharp to C to B flat or A sharp. So some notes have 2 names, and the notes that have 2 names are called enharmonic or enharmonics. Enharmonics being describing the type of notes that have two names, or they are enharmonic equivalents. Now, what's cool about this too is, well, I'm going to talk you through and walk you through this. So it starts with a B flat minor, then we get this A, then maybe A flat major there. Let's take it from the top. Oh, pause, please. No. No. So maybe instead, this is a no. So maybe instead this is a yes. Yeah, okay, great. So it's B flat minor to an A, to a D flat over A flat, to a G, G flat, B flat minor over F, to a, well, a B major. It's B major. We're going to change and say sharps now. It's B major for D sharp. We call it a C flat major over E flat. To a D flat major with a D flat in the bass. To a B major. To then maybe ending on what could be implied as being a B flat major, then going back to B flat minor, that parallel major minor is right there. So very interesting that inside the big computer there's this descending, partially chromatic line. I think we skipped. Yeah, we went from G to F. We didn't get an E, then we went straight to E flat. But a really, really fascinating line that was really cool. Okay, let's keep this going with Are You Coming Home, Love Mom? Let's turn the volume back up. Well, here's yet another piece that starts off, "Are You Coming Home?" Ah, C minor. I don't know where it's going to B flat minor front. So it starts off in C minor, then it goes to D minor. And basically, what we heard both there in the C minor and what we hear in the D minor is about the same thing. We hear a 1 minor chord. And then we hear a flat 6 to a flat 7, D, 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 back to a flat 6, D, 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 back to a flat 7, D, 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 D. And then a flat 6, but then also going back to the 1 before it does that flat 6, flat 7 bidness. Let's get down to bidness. Okay, let's keep this going. With Ode to the Bridge Builder. Oh, Bridge Builder. So just like we had in Brave, which was the third, piece in this OST, where we had 1 5 4 5 in D flat to F. Here, if you think this sounds similar to Brave, you'd be right, because we have another 1 5 4 5. Yeah, and there's some more things going there, but basically that's the idea. From C to E. So going down just a little bit before, it was 2. Now it's down a little bit. It's a little bit lower. 2. But the relationship between the two keys that it changes between stays the same, a major third. And if you want to know more about intervals and things like that, I wrote a book for you called The Best Music Theory Book for Beginners 1. It has sold over 5,000 copies. Check it out on Amazon. The Best Music Theory Book for Beginners 1. A guide for everyone how to read, write, and understand music. Again, it's sold over 5,000 copies now. It's in its 3rd edition. It is phenomenal for understanding how to read, write, and understand music. And so what we have here is an interval of a major third. And again, you can understand more about intervals. Actually, all about intervals on the page. Starting on page, let's see, 101. We have simple intervals, and it breaks down how intervals work for you with nifty-difty graphs and super things. Cool. All right, let's keep this going with last of the Gooballs and telescope operator. Okay, we're actually going to listen to that one again. Okay, so we start off in the key of B major, excuse me, with what is effectively a 1, 1 to 4, we'll call it 1 4 5, instead of 1 5 4, which we heard before in Ode or Bravely. That was 1 5. This is 1 4 5. And then it ends on the relative minor. So the chords go like this. Oh, hush now. 1 4 5, and then it goes to the second part of the piece, which is then ends on the G sharp minor, which is the 6, because B is 1, then G is 6, and it ends on the G sharp minor, actually making us question whether we were in B major all along. We were, but we might have actually changed to the relative minor, G sharp minor, here. Interesting and cool stuff. Let's keep this going with Best of Times. Wow. Easily my favorite piece so far in this OST, and I will tell you why. It comes down to a simple word, and that simple word is dynamics. Dynamics. Dynamics in music, when we use that word, we're talking about how loud and how quiet different parts of the music are, both relative to each other and also relative to the whole of everything you hear before and after it. So the dynamics, even just in this first part here. And by the way, the mixing job and mastering job on this is incredible. This is just, which, by the way, I haven't even noticed, like, or thought to mention the mixing and mastering up to this point, which is how well balanced it's been. Like, nothing's been out of place. But here, this is this is some really incredible stuff. Ah. Like how loud that piano is compared to the voices, and how they're growing louder now, growing louder. And now, this part right here, to me, sounds like, I don't know if you ever watch any of those movies like White House Down or like House of Cards or anything that's like sort of political but also like action thriller type thing. This sounds like action thriller music, political action thriller music. Oh, just the way you can hear that drum playing back and forth between your ears. Gorgeous. Gorgeous composition, gorgeous mix, gorgeous master. Sounds incredible. Love it. Easily favorite piece so far. Let's check out Red Carpet Extend-O-Matic. Okay, so yeah. First of all, we had that lo-fi beat along with like an orchestra. Now, what's interesting is that lo-fi beat is in and of itself, when juxtaposed against the early 2000s or late 90s dance tune. I was thinking early 2000s. Someone said 90s. I was thinking like, baby, you're all that I want. What year was that? When you're lying here in my arms. Sorry, I'm singing it terribly. I'm finding it hard to believe we're in heaven. I used to skate to that one down at the roller rink. Hey, when we used to have roller skate birthday parties, remember back in the day. What year was that? Baby, you're all that I want. And you're lying here in my arms. Finding it hard to believe we're in heaven. Someone tell me what year that is, because that 100% is like what that type of vibe is about, or even like Aqua, like I'm a Barbie girl. That type of, okay. My point was that the lo-fi is almost closer to swing. It's not quite swing. Lo-fi is its own thing, but lo-fi is a little bit of a metric modulation to that straight feeling in the early 2000s, late 90s dance thing. Plus the orchestra. What a lovely thing. I saw someone wrote in the chat that it was actually written as a joke to make fun of 90s dance music, and yeah, sure enough, it sounds like it. But what an interesting way to have. And we also had a modulation of key as well. All right, if no one knows where it is, I'm gonna find this. We're gonna figure out what this is. Okay, what year? Okay, baby, you're all that I want when you're lying here in my arms. Okay, Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams? I thought there was a girl singing it back in the day. Oh, that's no, that's different. That's 1983. Maybe dance version. DJ Sammy, maybe? Copyright claim incoming. Yeah, that. All right, someone see if you can find DJ Sammy Heaven, what year that was. Thank you, J2O Juiced. DJ Sammy Heaven. J2O Juiced, you are, I don't know, like, ahead of the curve. I love it. Thank you. Yes. 2002. Early 2000s is what I was thinking. There we go. Okay, hey, let's check out this next one, which is called World of Goo Corporation's Valued Customers. Okay. World of Goo ending. Well, World Goo ending, giving us a callback to the beginning. And someone also said Tumbler. Let's see, where we had Tumbler. Beep, ba, 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 ba. Maybe. Indeed. But yeah, for sure, giving us a callback to the beginning. Well, that was a fun ride. My favorite of the OST, for those of you who are interested to know what my personal, you know, when I teach music, I don't have favorites. I just teach the music, right? But there's also a man inside of me, a man with feelings. And the man with feelings, he liked the best of times. All right, y'alls. What we're going to do now is we're going to read Super Chats and Streamlab donations from this stream. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. Check out the best music theory book for beginners on Amazon. It sold over 5,000 copies. It's in its 3rd edition. It comes with free flashcards and video examples so you can actually hear what the music sounds like. So you come to some cool looking pages like this. Ooh, how cool looking. And you'll actually see that there's example numbers here so you can actually hear what these should sound like. So you don't just see the ideas, you actually hear them as well. Again, that's the best music theory book for beginners. Okay. That was absolutely delightful. That was a ton of fun. All right, y'all, let's read these super chats. Here we go. We're going to put on our end of stream chill music. Here we go. Okay. Well, nothing came through on Streamlabs for today, so we're just going to read the Super Chats on YouTube. Shout out and thank you to Rubberman202 for your generous support. Rubberman202 says, I have an odd request. Oh, this will be interesting. I want you to react to Rhythm Heaven Fever, but not just standalone music. I also want you to react to the gameplay because the music is tied directly to its gameplay. Ah, so definitely so be it. Okay, if it's a rhythm game, yeah, I get you. I got you, Rhythm Man. Man, it's been a long stream. Rubberman, thank you very much, Rubberman. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That sounds like fun. Okay, Tim for Adventure, or Time for Adventure, says, hey, Dan, this is Dirt Matter. Oh, hey, Dirt Matter. I recently rebranded to match my Twitch channel. Congratulations. Anyway, since I haven't been here in a while, I thought I'd pop in this donation for Xenoblade Chronicles X. Have a good day. Thank you so very much, Time for Adventure, who in the past was previously... Thank you very much to the YouTube account previously known as Dirt Matter. Ender Nightblade says, man, lag is horrible for me today, too. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Perils of University Wi-Fi. This is my first time listening to the World of Goo soundtrack, so having your input to go along with it was pretty cool. Here's for Phoenotopia Awakening. Thank you so very much for your support, Ender Nightblade. Thank you. Hope you have a nice rest of your day. And the guy with no ideas says putting in some bucks for Splatoon. The 3rd game just recently had a huge expansion with a whole new single-player mode, ooh, and new weapons, map, gear, etc. for the multiplayer mode. That sounds amazing. Thanks for the info too, and also thank you very much for your donation. The guy with no ideas. Thank you all so very much for your support. Thank you for your super chats. I will see you next time. Take care and goodbye.